All right, everybody. Samori Benjamin here, back here with you all on this Sunday afternoon, April 6th. And the Knicks have 1 week left in the regular season, and they get their best player and their captain back tonight after he has been out for a month. Jalen Brunson, he hurt his ankle in Los Angeles against the King, LeBron, and Luka Doncic and the LA Lakers on March 6th. Today is April 6th, and Brunson is back. And I do videos when I go to these games, and on Tuesday, I did a April Fool's joke with everyone, and I put out a April Fool's joke where I opened up the report saying that Jalen Brunson had a setback and he's not coming back. He's out for the season. Now, my intention was for everybody who saw the video to watch the whole video. And at the end of the video, I said, April Fools. I'm just kidding. Jalen is fine. The thing about it is, I had people tell me that they watched the beginning of the video and they believed it, and they got so upset that they turned the video off and didn't watch anymore, because I interviewed fans in the arena. I got them into it. They were a part of it, so I got them to pretend like they knew that Brunson was out for the year. All right, I said this is breaking news here from the Garden, and so a lot of people didn't even watch the whole thing. But that was the April Fool's joke. Jalen Brunson is back tonight at the Garden. I'll be there to play the Phoenix Suns. Like I said, the regular season ends next week, today, in Brooklyn. The Knicks and Brooklyn Nets will face off in the season finale. The Brooklyn Nets, of course, are going nowhere. Now, Carmelo Anthony, he is going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, and this is right in my wheelhouse because, and people love saying the word literally now. Like, literally is a word that people say before they say a lot of things. But for real, I literally was in the locker room, the Knicks locker room, for every home game when Carmelo was with the Knicks, okay? So I covered the team, all right, a few years before Carmelo even got there. So if you all have been following me since then you know that. And you know that I was very critical of Carmelo Anthony as an NBA player and when he was on the Knicks. And look, when I talk about sports or anything, I always want to be objective as I can. And part of the problem with some people, with some journalists and just people, period, but definitely when you're a journalist, you should not be doing this, and that is to have a biased opinion. And there are a lot of people who make relationships, who cover sports, they make relationships, friendly relationships with athletes, and so when that happens, they're not going to criticize the athlete. They don't want to criticize them. I mean, of course, there are journalists who are friends with athletes, and they still go on record criticizing them, okay? But there are a lot of people in the media who don't, who will not give their honest opinion because they're friendly with somebody or they like somebody. And Carmelo Anthony, it's funny because when I would criticize Carmelo Anthony's game, when the Knicks were losing year after year after year, a lot of people would say to me, why don't you like him? Did Carmelo never give you an interview, right? Like, people would always say that, like, that why you don't like him, because what? He must not have given you an interview or something, right? But it was the complete opposite. I mean, Carmelo Anthony, I always said this when he was on the Knicks and I was in the locker room every game covering him and the team. I always said that he's the coolest star I've ever seen in front of the media, all right? The coolest star I've ever seen in front of the media, because the Knicks were going through a lot of losing when he was with the team, all right? And one thing definitely give him is he was always there at his locker after every game. There was a lot of tough losses, okay? Lots of losing, okay? Which is primarily the primary reason why I was not crazy about him as a player. But he would always get these tough questions after every loss, and he would answer every question with a smile, right? He would let everything, he would just let the tough questions roll off his back and answer it with a smile. And he made covering him very easy, because if he wanted to be a jerk to the media, and he didn't want to be bothered, like a lot of the players on the team, and the Knicks over the years, when they were losing all the time, did not want to be bothered with the media. So he could have made life difficult for everybody covering the team, but he was always very cool and easy with everybody. And a lot of the media liked him, appreciated that. I appreciated that. But, he's someone who a lot of folks really did not want to criticize his game. But very cool dude. I mean, like I said, it's funny because I said he would show up to his locker after all the tough losses. He made us wait a long time. I mean, there was some nights when I was in the locker room, the game would be an hour over, and we're still standing there waiting for him to come and talk to us. And of course, he's a star player, so you got to get his sound, get his quotes, right? But but he was always a great dude. All right, one time it's funny because the Knicks between 2001 and 2022, they only won one playoff series, and that was in 2013 when they beat the Boston Celtics in Boston. And I was there that night. I was in the Knicks locker room, the visiting locker room, the Knicks locker room after that game, Game 6. And Carmelo looked at me. He called me. He said, "That's Stat's little brother, Amari Stoudemire." People always said that I looked like Amari Stoudemire. So that was he was always a cool dude. But now when it comes down to his game, look, I just have to be real about the situation, and I always thought that he was very overrated. And he's made the Hall of Fame, which I knew he always would make the Hall of Fame, because everybody loves him. Basketball fans love him, Knicks fans love him, right? Not just Knicks fans, but basketball fans, period, right? And the former players, all that. You never hear anybody really dissect his career. And as someone covering the Knicks, who was a Knicks fan as well, okay, I was watching everything. And there are a lot of things that the whole time that he was with the Knicks, I'm like, are y'all watching this? All right? And when he first got to the Knicks, I was as excited as anyone to have him on the team. All right? And so the issue with Carmelo, that no one in the media, on TV, no one on the internet, nowhere in cyberspace. You have like a billion videos on YouTube, on cyberspace, but no one is going to no one says what I'm about to say, all right? And the first thing is, when it comes to sports, all right, it's about winning, okay? Winning is why we watch. Winning is why we play. It's about winning, okay? And Carmelo's impact on winning was just very little in the NBA. And before I get into that, he is an all-time great in college. He played in college for 1 year, led Syracuse to the championship in 2003. The only championship Syracuse has won in basketball was because Carmelo Anthony carried them to a championship. Jim Boeheim, we see him, he started coaching at Syracuse in the 1970s. He didn't retire until like 2 years ago. He is someone who is revered as being a great head coach, had many great teams at Syracuse. The only championship he won was 2003 with Carmelo Anthony as a freshman, all right? And look, because of that, he had a lot of expectation and hype surrounding his name coming into the NBA. And I said it for a long time, that Carmelo Anthony, to me, is the most overrated player in NBA history. And yeah, and it started right there. Him coming into the NBA in the draft, and as I see my man, Big Poppy David Ortiz from MSG, pop on Facebook Live, a big Carmelo Anthony fan. You know, my brother, I was thinking about you because last time I saw you, about 2-3 weeks ago, I pulled up to the Garden, and the first thing he said, Carmelo Anthony, first ballot Hall of Famer, he is. So, yep, and as you type, I told you, my brother, yes. And you know what? Like I said, I knew he was going to be. So, but now, here's my thing. So, yeah, so the hype where Carmelo started when he came into the league, having won that championship with Syracuse, carried them. And LeBron James in the same draft, and the whole thing was, who should be picked first? This kid, Carmelo, who just carried his college team to a championship as a freshman, or LeBron James, this kid coming out of high school, never played a year in college. Who should be the first pick? That was a major debate. And so then LeBron ended up getting picked first by Cleveland, and Carmelo got picked by Denver, number 3. And, you know, for some reason, the Detroit Pistons took Darko Milicic number 2 overall. That's crazy. I mean, Chris Bosh was number 4 in that draft, and Dwayne Wade was the 5th pick in that draft. So a major screw-up for the Detroit Pistons. So now, but when they're both drafted, LeBron's taken number 1 overall, Carmelo 3 is the debate. Who should be picked first? Who will be better? So then people, they took that and they said, you know what? This is going to be very similar to how we had it when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird got drafted in 1979. One guy went to the West Coast, Magic, the Lakers. One guy went to the East Coast, Larry Bird, Boston Celtics. And they met in the finals, 3 times in the finals, right? And people, and many years when they did not meet in the finals, one of the 2 teams were in the finals, okay, playing somebody else. So, okay, as David says real quick, look at the numbers. Melo had a better rookie season. He should have gotten Rookie of the Year. You know what? And this is a point I was about to bring up, which is hysterical to me, right? So, like, Carmelo Anthony fans, like, the one thing they stick their hat on, okay? The one thing they love sticking their hat on is, one, Carmelo should have won the Rookie of the Year over LeBron in 2004. And I've always said, you know what? Carmelo can have that Rookie of the Year, okay? He can have that, okay? LeBron's been to 10 NBA Finals. He's won, 4 championships, won, 4 MVPs of the league, okay? At 40 years old, got his son playing with him, unprecedented, and his son is playing with him at 40 because he's that great at age 40. He can demand, yo, you want me on my team, Lakers, who have as many championships as any team in the sport. Lakers, you want me on your team? Okay, then you know what to do. Draft my son, give him a spot. At 40 years old, LeBron James is that great. That's how great he is, okay? So, if Carmelo Anthony can have the Rookie of the Year in 2003-04, like that's peanuts, okay? Peanuts, all right? So now look, it was supposed to be the same thing like Magic and Bird. They were going to meet in the finals every year, or one of their teams were going to be in the final every year, if not facing each other. All I can say is LeBron did his job, okay? LeBron lived up to his part of the deal, okay? All right? That's all I can say, okay? So when I talk about him being the most overrated player in NBA history, it starts right there at that point, coming into the league. So many people saying, oh, like Carmelo should be taking over him, or they're not even in the same category. Like LeBron or Carmelo right now cannot even be mentioned in the same breath. What LeBron is, it's Jordan and nobody else. Is he better than Michael Jordan? He's the best ever. Like, that's the conversation with LeBron, okay? Like, Carmelo's not even nowhere near, okay? So, like, that's when the overrated stuff started, from the beginning. So then, right, but the most important thing about this, and, like, no one even, I mean, this is public knowledge. If you watch the NBA in Carmelo's career, you would know this. I mean, I'm not about to say things that did not happen. This happened in front of everybody's eyes. But when I say this, people are caught off guard and they're surprised. They don't even realize. So if I asked you, first of all, how many playoff series, do any of you out there watching this, do any of you know how many playoff series Carmelo Anthony won in his career? Now, and basketball is a sport where if you're truly a great player, one player in basketball can carry a team a long way. Now, I'm not saying that one great player can carry a team to a championship by himself, because that's not true. Hardly never been done. I mean, you can look at a couple instances where there was just one great player and the team won a championship. The Houston Rockets with Olajuwon in '94 when they beat the Knicks, okay? And the Knicks at that time only had one legit star. That was Patrick Ewing. So both of those teams had one legit star, and Houston won in 7 games. The next year in '95, when Houston beat Orlando and a young Shaq and Penny, Clyde had his college teammate with him, Clyde Drexler. All right, Olajuwon had Clyde Drexler with him. So he had another Hall of Famer right there the next year. And as I say that, their university, Houston, will be playing for their first championship tomorrow night against Florida, as Houston upset Duke last night in the Final Four, and Florida beat Auburn. Okay, so now people are measured by, okay, in basketball, one player can do a lot, carry a team. And of course in basketball, out of every other sport, a championship is what the great players are measured by, right? And there are a lot of great players who never won a championship. And when it comes to Carmelo Anthony, I'm not even mentioning him not winning a championship as one of my knocks against him. I'm not even mentioning the championship. And like people who, Carmelo's defenders, they always love to say to me, oh, well, a lot of people have never won a championship, just like Carmelo. I'm not even talking about that. Like, that's a simple, lightweight argument, okay? Okay, all right? That's too simple. I'm not even talking about winning a championship. Like I said, a lot of great players have not won one, including Patrick Ewing, he's the greatest Knick that I've ever seen, and he carried the Knicks to many playoff runs, deep runs in the playoffs. And Carmelo and Ewing, okay, so I'm getting to that in a minute. But Carmelo Anthony, all right, he barely won a playoff series. Forget a championship. He barely won a playoff series, like I said. So if I was to ask anybody out there how many playoff series Carmelo Anthony won in his 19-year career, what would y'all say? Y'all don't know. Y'all don't realize that he only won 3 playoff series in 19 seasons. I mean, like, that is so bad. That's worse than anybody that you can ever come up with, period. Period. I mean, you're supposed to be a great player, and he won 3 playoff series in 19 seasons. I mean, like, that's just atrocious. Atrocious. And this is something that no one ever, anywhere, ever brings up, ever. Don't put me on First Take or ESPN on one of these shows. It would be a wrap, okay? It would be a wrap. I would take all these cats, all right? I would tear a new one into all of them, all right? Now, and Carmelo's fans love to bring up, oh, he got to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers and Kobe one time. That was the only time in Carmelo's 19-year career that he reached the conference finals. That was the only year that he got out of the first round in Denver. So he was with Denver for 7.5 years. His first 7 seasons, Denver made the playoffs all 7 seasons. But you know what? Making the playoffs in the NBA, it's not a big deal. 16 teams make the playoffs. There are 30 NBA teams. So more teams make the playoffs than don't make the playoffs in the NBA. That's more than every other sport, okay? So just making the playoffs in the NBA is not a big accomplishment, right? So 7 years in Denver, made it every year. Only one of those years did he get out of the first round. That was 2009. Won the first round, second round, then got to the conference finals against Kobe, was tied 2-2, and ended up losing the next 2 games, all right? The only other time, that was 2009, folks. Carmelo retired, what? His last year playing was 2022 or 23, right? Like 2022-23 season was Carmelo's last year. I think that's correct. So we're talking about 2009, okay? The only other time that he won another playoff series again in his career was 2013 with the Knicks, all right? When they beat the Boston Celtics in the first round, all right? That night I was telling you about, I was in the locker room in Boston when they won that series, all right? And the next series, as the favorites against the Indiana Pacers, all right, they lost unceremoniously got bounced, lost game 1 at home. I've said many times, Knicks have never won a playoff series in their history when they lost game 1 of the series at home, okay? They lost game 1. They ended up getting down 3-1 in the series to Indiana, all right? Knicks were the favorites, had the home court advantage, down 3-1 to a young Paul George, Roy Hibbert. Like, Carmelo Anthony was the nothing heroic. In that series, they lose 6 games, and from that point on, the next 4 years, which were the last 4 years of Carmelo's Knicks tenure, the Knicks were an embarrassment. An embarrassment. Like, I talk about how Carmelo only got out of the first round twice in 19 years, only won 3 playoff series in 19 years. But you know what? That's not even the worst of it, because the Knicks, when he got, like, his Knicks tenure was just horrific. Like, it was all-time bad. Like, the Knicks had the worst record ever with Carmelo at the face of the team. 2014-15, they started off with 5 wins and 36 losses. Like, to me, anyone who has played 19 seasons and only won 3 playoff series, like, that's not Hall of Fame worthy. Anyone who's played 19 seasons and only got to the first round twice, like, that's not Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, like, come on, like, what are we doing? And if you are on a team and your team starts off with 5 wins and 36 losses in basketball, like, you can't be a great player. Like, to me, that's not Hall of Fame worthy. Being the face of the worst, being a franchise player who everything went through, you took the most shots in every game, and your team, of all the bad Knicks teams we've seen, Lord knows, all right, before Thibodeau came here, it was 20 years of just losing rock-bottom basketball. Of all those bad teams, okay, who do not even have Carmelo on the team, his team was the worst of them all, okay? So, like, I mean, come on, folks. And so then you want to talk about, okay, standards, okay? Well, Patrick Ewing is who I grew up watching. Like I said, the Knicks went 9 straight seasons winning at least 1 playoff series, okay? 9 straight years. Carmelo won 1 playoff series with the Knicks in 7 years. He won 3 playoff series in 19 seasons. Like, Patrick Ewing, literally, okay? In 1994, okay? And in 99, all right? Patrick had playoff seasons, all right? Over a course of 2 months, he won as many playoff series in 2 months as Carmelo won in 19 seasons, or Patrick Ewing, because in 94 he made the finals, and in 99. But he 9 straight years won at least 1 playoff round. I mean, come on. And Carmelo's won 3 in 19 years, and you're trying to tell me he's a Hall of Famer? Like, come on. Like, that's the standard. Like, Patrick Ewing, it was Patrick Ewing and a bunch of role players, okay? If Ewing had not been on the team, the Knicks would have been in the lottery every year, okay? It was Ewing and a bunch of role players. Oakley, Starks, Mason, all them guys, they were role players. They were average players, okay? Ewing was the definition of a great player. He was so great, he had such a big impact that he allowed everybody to just play a role, okay? Oakley, just rebound and be tough. Starks, just play defense, be tough, shoot threes, all right? Mason, you be the goon as well and play your role to a T, okay? It wasn't a lot of scoring on the team. It was Ewing and a bunch of tough, gritty role players. All right, I've always said the Knicks over the years, after those 90 teams, had way more talent. Several times over the years, including Carmelo's years, even when they had Stephon Marbury there before Carmelo, when I first started covering the Knicks, and Isaiah Thomas was running the team, and they had Jamal Crawford with Marbury in the backcourt. Nate Robinson, okay, who dropped 40 points many times in Knicks uniforms. They had David Lee, Zach Randolph, okay, a bunch of ballers on the team, and they couldn't win a game with Isaiah Thomas leading them as the coach. They had Larry Brown one year. They couldn't win. You know what? After the 90s Knicks, a lot of the guys came here, put on Knicks uniforms, went on the Madison Square Garden court, had to deal with the media, all right, who was always ripping into them when they were losing, and these guys could not handle the pressure of playing for the Knicks, okay? I was in the locker room many a night over all those losing years and looking into those players' eyes, having to deal with the media night in and night out, after another tough loss, they wanted no part of it. They would get out on the court before the game started. As soon as the introductions came on with Isaiah Thomas introduced, Stephon Marbury, the Bulls started then. They started then from opening jump from the crowd. Then the game would start, and if the team did not come out and play well, all right, the first time out, everybody getting booed off the court, okay? Like, yo, the pressure was something that a lot of these guys cannot handle. Carmelo's Knicks cannot handle. They cannot handle it, okay? So, but that's the standard that Carmelo is measured against. Patrick Ewing, okay? Let's start with the Knicks greats. Patrick Ewing, okay? There's no comparison. Bernard King, someone who, when Carmelo came to the Knicks, people love to mention Carmelo in the same sentence as Bernard King. People love that. Now, Bernard King, folks, I mean, look, it's no comparison. Bernard King was with the Knicks for 3 seasons. His 3rd season, he was leading the league in scoring, I believe, and he tore his knee before the year ended, and the Knicks ended up collapsing, right? So his first 2, the 82-83 season and the 83-84 season, Bernard King won a playoff round, and this is when less teams made the playoffs, only 6 teams or something like that made the playoffs from each conference. And Bernard, 82-83, they won the first round playoff series, okay? Then the next year, 83-84, in the first round, Bernard King had a battle with the Isaiah Thomas Pistons, okay? And that was when the first round went 5 games. It was a battle. Isaiah and Bernard had an all-time first-round series. Bernard King was dropping 30-point, 40-point games, carried the Knicks to victory in that first-round series, okay? So that right there, that's 2 playoff wins Bernard King had as a Knick in his first 2 years. Carmelo had 1 playoff series in 7 seasons, folks. Come on, right? Let's get real. But not just that. In 84, after Bernard beat Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, the next team he had to face was the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, all these great players. That Celtics team went on to win the championship. The Knicks, this is what I'm saying. There's nobody out there listening. You got to be the hardest of die-hard Knicks fans to be able to name 1, 2 guys off that 1983-84 Knicks roster besides Bernard King. People with Carmelo, oh, he didn't have any help. He didn't have any help, all this nonsense. And Bernard King, and Patrick Ewing. But yo, Bernard King, what he had around him was the definition of no help, okay? No help, all right? Without Bernard King, they might have been the worst team in the league. Go look at their roster, okay? 1984 season, 83-84. And he carried that Knicks team in the second round after beating Isaiah and the Pistons for his 2nd playoff series won as a Knick. Carmelo has won again in 7 years. In that Boston Celtics series, he carried the Knicks to 7 games against the Celtics and was heroic with his performances carrying the Knicks. And they lost in that series, and Boston went on to win the championship, all right? Larry Bird battling, Bernard King battling, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, all their greats, Dennis Johnson. And Bernard really had no help, okay? And they lost. Now, Carmelo Anthony as a Knick, he never did anything as heroic as that. I mean, it's not always about winning. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't win. You're going to lose. But if you lose, at least go down with a fight. At least go down balling. And you know what? Okay, you did all you could do. We lost. It ain't your fault. It's far from that. With Carmelo Anthony, his years with the Knicks, that was not the case. I cannot say that. I always said, if the Knicks lost all these games and he was efficient and balling, I would say, you know what? He's doing all he could do. But the reason why Bernard King won the way he did, he scored a lot of points, right? Carmelo Anthony, people always say, oh, he's 9th all-time in scoring. That's the biggest crock of BS. I'm going to tell you why, okay? And I'll argue that him scoring all those points is why his teams were so bad, okay? Because he was not efficient. He's the kind of guy that would score 30 points on 30 shots, make 10, miss 20, score 30 points. Is that helping anybody? Is that helping anybody? No. That's why your teams lose. That's why you don't win. And Carmelo's fans just want to ignore that. They just want to, oh, he had 30 points. Like, please, stop. And then Bernard King's Knicks, they shot over 50%. Bernard King, excuse me. When he was scoring those points, he was shooting 50% and better from the field. That's why he carried those Knicks to playoff series wins, carried them on his back. Carmelo does not reach that standard with Ewing or Bernard King in terms of Knicks, right? I mean, like, I don't even think he was a better Knick than Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston. Like, I hear people talk about Carmelo's numbers should be retired. Well, listen, any Knick fan out there, please explain to me how Carmelo Anthony deserves to have this number retired over Latrell Sprewell, my all-time favorite Knick, okay? Allen Houston, like, even Charles Oakley. I mean, Charles Oakley wasn't an all-star, made it one team, but I'm saying, like, y'all know what Oakley did? I'm saying, like, those teams, those players were in the playoffs year after year, giving Knicks fans something, giving us hope for a championship. Like, Carmelo's Knicks, it was just, rock bottom embarrassment, and Knicks fans and the media making excuses for him. Oh, he don't have this. He don't have that. Oh, Phil Jackson is sabotaging the team. Oh, it's the owner. Like that all that talk drove me crazy, okay? Drove me crazy the whole time he was covering the Knicks, okay? And he left the Knicks. He went to OKC with Paul George and Westbrook. What happened? First round exit again. He was there for 2 years, nothing. Then he went to Houston with Mike D'Antoni, okay, who got fired basically because Carmelo was the star player and Carmelo could not deliver. And then those two, and D'Antoni ended up becoming the scapegoat, okay? Period. So then Carmelo goes to Houston with D'Antoni. That lasted like 11 games or 7 games before, all right, the Rockets let him go. Then he ends up with, Portland and Dame, another first-round exit. He got with LeBron. LeBron couldn't even help him. Look, Carmelo's last year with the Lakers, he's with LeBron, and first-round exit, okay? So,
do you think Carmelo Anthony does not deserve...
Are you mic 2 or 3? I'm sorry. Is that mic 1 or 2? Okay, so I've been talking a lot, Taylor Abreu, my ace here, is in studio. She's a big Carmelo fan. She's been hearing all this, so she's ready to say some things. So that's what, mic 1 or mic 2?
Mic 1, mic 1.
Okay. All right, Kayla.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I had to sit through this. But I understand where you're coming from and your point of view, but you don't believe Carmelo Anthony deserves to get his jersey retired by the Knicks?
You know what? I say no because to me it's about winning. Like the Knicks, just a horrible, like I'm saying, like the worst team they ever had in their near 80-year history was his team that started 5-36, and they were as bad as any Knicks team. I don't think he did anything to have his number retired. I don't. Sorry.
And not even the individual accolades, like his points scored. I know you disagree with the points being scored because he's not doing anything beneficial for the team, but individual accolades must count for something. He scored most of those points in Knicks uniform. And culture, everyone was wearing Carmelo Anthony jerseys and one of the most sold jerseys during that time, right next to LeBron. All-Stars appearances. And did make the playoffs. I know, might not have won, but he was in there.
He was in there, but he didn't do anything. Like, he got beat every year. I mentioned all those previous Knicks, great Knicks, truly great Knicks, and they did way more. I mean, they were in the playoffs 3 years Carmelo was here, and 4 years he was here. They were not in the playoffs. So, like, they were in the playoffs more years and not in the playoffs than they were. And then when they got there, they only won one playoff series. So there's nothing special about that. And you talk about the points, and like I said, the points thing to me, like his career has no substance. The points thing is superficial because he scored a lot of points, but what did it lead to? Nothing. And I said the reason why his points led to nothing is because he wasn't efficient. Like he was shooting under a 50% clip. Like, here's the thing. When you see his size, like he's the guy for his size should be shooting above 50%. Like his contemporaries who are truly great, truly Hall of Famers, LeBron, of course, but Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a contemporary, played the same position, and Kevin Durant, has always shot over 50%. So he's scoring all those points, shooting over 50%. Carmelo, in 19 seasons, never shot 50% 1 year. Never, And so it's like, basketball is a game where the bigger you are, the better your percentages should be. But not just that, like he didn't do anything else on the court that was that good. I mean, he wasn't a great passer. Didn't have great handle. Wasn't for his size. You would think he would be a beast rebounder, but he wasn't. He never had great rebound numbers. He never averaged 10 rebounds in a season.
So that leads to, do you believe he's a Hall of Famer?
Definitely not. I don't because, why would I think that? Because, I mean, like I said, the fact that he won 3 playoff series in 19 seasons, like, to me, that's not Hall of Fame worthy.
Wow.
At all. I mean, because they got to have some substance. Like, he's the only player in the NBA who, when people talk about their careers and critique them, they don't bring up winning. Like, he's the only guy where they don't ever bring up winning. Never.
How do you feel about Dwight Howard?
I think Dwight Howard was way better than Carmelo, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because for one, he carried the team by himself to the finals. All right, in 2000.
2 years in Orlando.
Yeah. And it was actually the year that Carmelo lost in the conference finals to the Lakers and Kobe in 2009. That year, the Lakers went on to face Orlando in the finals, and Dwight beat LeBron that year. I mean, that was supposed to be a LeBron-Kobe finals. I was heartbroken because as a big LeBron fan, I mean, the whole NBA world wanted to see LeBron and Kobe in the finals, and Kobe beat Carmelo in Denver, and then it was LeBron and the Magic, and LeBron the Cavs that year won 66 games. Now LeBron had nobody else on it; he was by himself too. But Dwight Howard, he didn't have a whole lot in terms of all-star players with him, and he beat the King in 6 games, and I was hurt. I was hurt. So like, I give him that. You know what I'm saying? Like he beat LeBron a mano-a-mano in the playoffs and the conference finals. Carried his team to a championship. I mean, Dwight Howard was a beast. Like, he was a great defensive player of the year. Led the league in rebounding. I mean, like, to me, he was much more impactful than Carmelo Anthony. And if you look at his career, he won way more playoff series than Carmelo. Like, all these guys, anybody can name, any current star or former star, they all won more than 3 playoff series. So.
No, I agree. And Dwight was actually left off the anniversary team, the 75.
He was, which is crazy. Exactly.
You have players like Giannis, who were new to the league, and Damian Lillard.
Dame should not have been on there. I'm sorry. And even Anthony Davis should have been on there over Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard, right?
Yeah. As we hit 12 o'clock here at WACR. So.
Those are the 2 out of the 5 who are.
Okay. Yes. Now. You're talking about the other Hall of Famers?
Other Hall of Famers.
Okay, you can. Okay, so who else got it?
These players have a clear-cut case. WNBA legends, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, and Sylvia Fowles. We can start off with Sue Bird, who was drafted by the Seattle Storm in 2002, played 20 seasons. The first player to do that, 20 seasons with the same jersey, created a culture in Seattle, a winning culture. 4-time WNBA champion. She is the most decorated overseas player as well. So as much as she won championships in the W, she also has 4 overseas, leads the WNBA in assists. She is an 13-time All-Star in her 20 seasons with Seattle. And 2-time NCAA champion at UConn in 2000 and in 2002. Just a great resume for Sue Bird, who's been retired for 2 years now. Seen her a lot at the Liberty game. She's always staying in tune with basketball.
Speaking of that, there's a great Sue Bird moment that involved her at a Liberty game, and this was this was from a few years ago, and this was like still when the Nets had Katie and Kyrie, and she was at a Liberty game, and somebody asked her, I think it was on the PA system in front of the crowd, something about like her basketball allegiance, and she said, "Bing bong," like Knicks all day. So yeah, in the Barclays Center. So yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely a Knicks fan. I think she's a Liberty fan now. She followed Breonna Stewart to the Liberty.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, a lot of people, because this is New York City, so Liberty are hot, they're winning, so you got a lot of people coming on the bandwagon right now.
Of course.
Celebs.
Moving on to Maya Moore, another UConn great, 2 UConn alum being selected in the same class. Maya Moore, one of the most winning basketball players of all time. Not only did she win in college, but coming into the league in 2011, drafted by the Lynx, brought 4 championships to the Minnesota Lynx in her 8-year career, a short career, left in her prime at 29 years old, to help fight social justice. She was an advocate for social justice, and she's one of those what if stories. Like, what if she played another 8 years? She could have easily had 8 championships. One of the greatest offensive players, and so happy she's getting her flowers. She recently had her jersey retired last year. The first Jordan athlete as well. So very happy for Maya Moore, well deserved, and love that she's known not only for what she's done on the court and winning, but also what she's done outside of the court. It's very hard for an athlete to decide to leave during their prime. The star of that team, she was the leader, but to fight for a bigger cause, and that gentleman who her friends introduced her to, who was wrongfully incarcerated, is now her husband. So it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, she's somebody who is remarkable, because for her to be as great as she was in the prime of her career and a star, how many athletes have ever just walked away from that? I mean, so that takes a special person to be able to do that.
For sure. 2011 as a rookie, 2013, 2015, and 2017 champion, 2013 Finals MVP, and 2014 WNBA MVP, 6-time All-Star. Just an amazing resume. And one of her teammates along those championships was the great Sylvia Fowles, who is also being inducted. Sylvia played 17 years, I believe. Was drafted by the Chicago Sky before becoming a Lynx. She won WNBA Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, 2011, 2013, 2016, and 2021. She helped with the Lynx Championship in 2015 and 2017, and was named the MVP and the WNBA Finals MVP of both of those finals. And Maya Moore and Sylvia Fowles are one of the big reasons of that Lynx dynasty.
Yes, and Sylvia Fowles, I remember watching her, in the Final Four in the NCAA Women's Tournament.
That's you.
Yeah, because I covered the Rutgers women's basketball team, the 2007-08 season, and LSU was, I believe, one of the Final Four teams that year. They definitely were one of the teams in the Elite Eight. They were in the mix, and Sylvia Fowles was their star. And so I remember watching her from back then, and now she's going to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to her. That's amazing. And, real quick, so I think it used to be where a player had to be out for 5 years before they could be voted for the Hall of Fame, but I see with the basketball has changed, because Bird, Fowles, and Carmelo haven't been out 5 years yet. So that was something that I found interesting. Okay. Are there other names too?
No, those are the 3 ladies that will be inducted in the 2025 Hall of Fame. Shout out to them for representing women's basketball at such a high level and just being winners. All 3 of those names, there's no ifs, ands, or buts when it comes to their names. They're the definition of winning. So
no doubt.
Can't wait to see that ceremony soon. And going into college, UConn, we're still hearing 20 years later.
Yes, UConn is in the championship game again, and they have not won a championship now in a few years. For a long time, they were winning.
2016, I believe.
Yeah. Breonna Stewart, shout out to her, the Liberty star, who helped.
4-time NCAA champion.
Yep, and now 3-time WNBA champion, who helped lead the Liberty to their first ever championship. Just in October, Breonna Stewart, she won the championship all 4 years with UConn. So when she was there, they won 4 straight years. And then, and before that, they were winning all the time with Maya Moore and everyone, Sue Bird, who you talked about.
Yep. And Diana Taurasi.
Exactly, Shout out
to Collier. I mean, we got to shout out Gino Auriemma 20-something years later, and you're back again in the championship game. Same year that your players like Sue Bird, Maya Moore being inducted to the Hall of Fame just speaks on the greatness of your program and how you're able to produce these WNBA greats.
Yes.
Proven.
Yes. And the very first UConn star, the first star basketball player, the first woman star basketball player, maybe even the first star basketball player that I remember, Rebecca Lobo. And she'll be on the broadcast tonight. She's always on the broadcast for all the big women's games, whether it's college basketball or WNBA. When you hear Rebecca Lobo, you know it's a big game. And you check out
First New York Liberty.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, exactly. So she'll be on the call, and she
Ryan Rucco.
Yeah, and UConn's first championship was the women, 1995. They went undefeated that year. I still remember that. Like I said, she's the first women's basketball star I remember, number 50 for UConn, and they even won one before the men won the championship. Theirs did not come until '99. So yes. So
The last time UConn was in the championship game was against South Carolina, the team they're playing today.
Yeah.
In 2022, South Carolina got the win, so it would be great to see this rematch. Obviously, new players, new team. We have Paige Beckers. We have Raven Johnson for South Carolina. But before we get into the championship preview, let's speak a little bit about the Final Four. South Carolina took on Texas. Texas is a new team added to the SEC. They were in a different conference that changed before the season started. So it was the first time in the SEC. Before the tournament, they were even 1-1 apiece, which led to a coin toss for the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. A coin toss won by South Carolina, and both teams ended up seeing each other in the SEC final, and South Carolina got the victory. And the key for South Carolina has always been the bench. Their bench is their strong suit. South Carolina's bench is the most productive bench in D1 right now. Their leading scorer, Malaysia Wiley, SEC 6 Women of the Year, comes off the bench. Not a lot of teams have the luxury of saying your 6 women and your leading scorer can come off the bench.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Now, quick question. Now, does she average? I saw last night they were talking about how she's a great scorer. Now, is it correct that she averages 10.4 points this year?
She averages 12 points
12,
per game and 13 points against SEC teams.
Okay, cool. Okay.
But she's such a great player. When she comes off the bench, especially if Dawn's starters are not doing good, she's able to create that momentum quick in just a couple plays. She's able to grab steal easily, or just her quickness and athleticism. It's hard to catch Malaysia in a fast break.
Yeah, I mean, and she has, like, her handle is like showtime. She's really fun to watch, the way she dribbles. Outstanding. Now, why is it that she's not starting?
We have Raven Johnson, who is the...
Okay, so we know,
I'm sorry,
so we know who you're going for.
Sorry, South Carolina has Raven Johnson, Tahina Paopao, who transferred before last season, helped them win the championship last season. Came from Oregon.
It's a great name. I love her name.
Yes, Tahina Paopao, and Raven Johnson, who was a great defender, was the primary defender who locked up Caitlin Clark last game. Has proven herself throughout the years. And one thing about Dawn, before you even come to her program, she lets it known that this team, it's about winning. It's not about the best player getting the most minutes. It's about what pieces work together well, and that's why she's been able to continue this dynasty after losing players like Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardoso and Asia Wilson. She has continued to win.
Yeah, and real quick, so Paopao, she is family with the great Hall of Fame linebacker, Junior Seau. They're Samoan. And Junior's passed away now, tragically, but I saw a story and they said that she was related to him, and they're talking about their family and all that, so that was interesting. And now, so I know that Asia Johnson is your favorite player.
Asia Wilson, yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Asia Wilson is your favorite player, and she inspired you, and so it's natural that you are a fan of the Gamecocks. Now, also someone who Asia inspired is the star freshman on South Carolina, George Edwards. Yes,
George Edwards was having a tough game. 2 games before that in the Sweet 16 against Maryland, the Elite 8 against Duke, but had a great game during the Final Four against Texas, which was needed. She had 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. And she's also a very dynamic player. She is huge on the offensive end and on the defensive end, and she reminds me a lot like Asia Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think she can be the next
Yeah.
Wilson. She has the potential to be one of the greatest players in D1 history.
Yeah, that's what they were saying on the broadcast. So, and she seemed like very cool, like a cool customer. So, that was that was very cool.
So glad she was able to get in her groove because we'll definitely need her tonight. Her and Malaysia for Wiley off the bench, but they were able to defeat Texas 74-57. And just to speak a little bit on Texas, Madison Booker, their star, who's also SEC Player of the Year. So it was a great matchup. 6 women, SEC Player of the Year. She had averaged 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists this season. But got into foul trouble early during that game. And Texas relies too much offensively on Madison Booker. So once she caught those 2 fouls early, came in the third, caught one as soon as she got in, it wasn't much Texas could get into a rhythm offensively after that.
Got you, yeah, because another game, UCLA and UConn, right? I mean, both games ended up being a blowout. So, like, today's game is going to be a big one. So now, the UCLA-UConn game, now, of course...
UConn set a record for the margin victory for 34 points. They won 81-51.
Wow.
Which was just surprising for a Final Four game to be 2 number 1 seeds. I mean, not even UCLA is the number 1 seed. UConn was
number 2.
Was number 2 seed.
Yeah.
So,
and how that happened, I don't know, but UConn is rolling right now, and they even blew out South Carolina, who they played today on South Carolina's home court about a month or so ago.
The 3 teams that were in the Final Four were the only 3 teams that had beat South Carolina in the regular season this year.
Oh, really?
Yes. UCLA was the first team to beat them, then UConn and Texas.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So, now, how do you think now, did UConn start off struggling? Because for them to only be a number 2 seed.
They had a few injuries. I know Paige had sprained her ankle. AZ Fudd was coming back from injury as well. You had new freshmen coming in that weren't in the team last year because UConn did make the Final Four last year, lost to Caitlin Clark before the championship game. But Sarah Strong, the freshman, Allison Feaster's daughter, I don't know if you heard of her, a WNBA legend as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I heard last night that her mom was a player. So her mom is who's her mom again?
Allison Feaster.
And who does she play for? Do you know?
She played for the Sparks. She played
really?
for Indiana.
Okay,
she played for a couple teams.
Okay, cool.
But Sarah Strong, her daughter, and AZ Fudd combined for 41 points during that game. And Sarah has really been finding her groove. She's that freshman who hasn't been here before, but is playing like she's ready for this moment. So she would be key for UConn. Yeah,
I heard somebody saying that she could be like their next really outstanding player, Sarah Strong, freshman.
Yep. Yeah,
so if you're a freshman starting for UConn, you are the real deal. Because it was funny because you see, so like everybody you see on that bench is very talented, but everybody doesn't get a chance to play. So he's like, you got to be really good to not just make the team, but to crack the starting five, like to crack the rotation and starting 5, of course. So. Yeah. So,
but this is a huge game for Paige Beckers. I just want to highlight her a little bit.
Yes.
Was Player of the Year her freshman year in UConn. So, like you said, freshmen have a big responsibility at UConn. They don't pick up anyone, She won Player of the Year her first year, and after that, tore her meniscus in 2021, came back, tore her ACL in 2022. Just been through so much injury. Last year was kind of her revenge tour. It was the first time she was able to make a deep run in the tournament. Like I said, came up short to Iowa and Caitlin Clark. But this year is like, I'm here, and she really wants this. I know she's hungry from being Player of the Year, not being able to be in the tournament, and finally having a healthy team and just being healthy yourself. So I know UConn is going to try to give it everything they got. And South Carolina has been here before. They've been at the losing end of it, and they've been at the winning end of it multiple times as well. So,
yeah, you know what? It's fascinating because, okay, so the first thing is when UConn plays South Carolina in 2022. Okay, I remember rooting for UConn and Paige Beckers, and the reason was was this because, for one, we'll rewind about 8 months before that. I was in a Colorado hotel room. I was in Colorado, Denver, for the All-Star game, right, baseball. And so the ESPY Awards were going on. And this was like right after COVID, people started having events again. So the ESPY Awards was in New York. It was on the West Side Highway. It might have been at Chelsea Piers even. It was somewhere in that area and on the water. And Paige Becker's got an award, and then she gave her speech, and she starts talking about how, she's really appreciative of the award, but how she wants to highlight all the black women athletes out there who do not get a lot of attention, and she gets a lot of notoriety, but a lot of black women who are great athletes who don't get notoriety and the attention that they deserve. So she gave this whole speech about that. So I was like, wow. So that made an impression on me. So that showed me something about who she was. So
I'm definitely bringing the speech one day and going to play it for you guys because it's an amazing speech. And she was so young. She was only a sophomore at that time, and just to be so aware of what's socially going on.
Right. And I was like, wow. And so then, 8 months later, when they're in the championship game, UConn is, I was rooting for her and UConn. The biggest reason why was because so now I like her character, but she also watching her she was a baller. I was like, wow, she was fun to watch. And so the UConn team in 2022, they weren't as talented as what they are now. So she was literally carrying that team to the tournament. Because I remember I don't think they were even that highly ranked going into the tournament. Not as high a seed as they normally are, but she started balling and carried that team. And so against Carolina, Carolina was the heavy favorite. So it was kind of I was just going for the underdog because, sometimes you like going for the underdog in the championship. And because of, having seen that speech and, and I mean, if she could have pulled off, just watching her, she was really fun to watch. So I was like, if she could pull this off, that would be a great story and fun to watch. But, Carolina had too much for them.
I hope she is able to, even though I'm a South Carolina fan, I'm really rooting for Paige Beckers. This is her last year in college. She is projected to be the number 1 pick to Dallas in the WNBA draft. And next week, next Monday, April 14th, is the WNBA draft. And yeah, she's projected to be the number 1 pick. So I really hope she can leave college on a high note, already having so many accolades like Player of the Year, and Big East player, etc. So all she's missing is that NCAA championship, and all UConn players are marked with that championship ring. So I believe Paige deserves it, and I can't wait to see if she carries her team there tonight. I mean, she won't have to carry her team because she has great teammates now, like AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong, that she didn't have in 2022. So it's going to be a great game because like I said, South Carolina has the best bench. They have a lot of depth, and they're going to put on for 40 minutes.
Definitely. And it's like Aaron Judge with the Yankees, as great as he is, he's playing for the Yankees, and he's measured against all the Yankee greats, so he's got to win a championship at some point. So with Paige, same thing. She's great, and but she's going to be measured against those UConn.
Brianna Stewart.
And
Bird, Diana Taurasi. Multiple, not 1, 2.
Yes.
4 is a little crazy, but
it
was done.
I mean, because you look at it, I mean, Caitlin Clark never won a championship. I'm not saying that that's any slight to her because it's a team game, and no one's going to ever knock Caitlin for not winning a championship. But if Paige Becker does not have one, that's going to be mentioned because she's playing for UConn.
On UConn, right? Yeah. Because what Caitlin did was help an entire program even get to the tournament. It's a whole different story when you're being measured.
Yes.
With greats, but still projected to be the number 1 pick. Like I said, for the Dallas Wings, who have the number 1 pick. I just want to mention a couple other players whose season has ended and are looking to be drafted, like Kiki Iriafen, one of our favorites at USC, who I really thought was going to make it to the Final Four, but with the injury, Juju Watkins' injury, it was a little hard on the team. Anissa Morrow, LSU, is the 3rd player from LSU to average double-double, which is Sylvia Fowles, Angel Reese, and now Anissa Morrow. Would be a great pickup, projected to go to the new team, Golden State Valkyries. We also have Haley Van Lith, we've seen her play with LSU, what she did for TCU, helping TCU in the Sweet 16 for the first time in a long time, or I think in program history actually. Haley Van Lith used her 5th year now going into the draft.
You know what about her? I think I saw that she's the only player that has played on 3 Final Fours with 3 different schools.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she played her first 3 years with Louisville.
Mm-hmm. Louisville.
One with LSU, and then used her 5th year, her COVID year, to play with TCU.
Oh, Final Four, yeah.
That's impressive. Tahina Pau, who's playing tonight as well with South Carolina. Sanaya Rivers, a name to look out for, and I just wanted to mention them. Harmony Turner, Ivy Player of the Year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Played for Harvard, gave Columbia a tough loss in the finals, but those are just some players who names will most likely be mentioned Monday, April 14th at the WNBA draft.
Olivia Miles was projected to be a number 2 overall pick, but she's passing on it.
Yeah, she's deciding to stay in college.
Which, to your point, you would not see in the NBA, but she's making money now, so she's probably like, you know what?
NIL deal.
Yeah.
She went through a tough injury as well. This was her first season back, so pre-season before this one, she was out. Maybe the tournament run or just her season didn't go as she expected when coming off injury. So transferring, a new coaching staff, new players around her will probably give her that experience that she needs and that she deserves, because she hasn't really gotten the full college experience or the full tournament experience.
Right. Now, hold on, I hit some static. Okay, let me get the static out real quick. So now I know the Columbia women's basketball team, you have been following them and all that. So the Columbia women, they won the Big East the Ivy League this year.
They won the Ivy League outright.
Regular season,
led by point guard Kitty Henderson, who was invited to the WNBA draft combine a couple of days ago.
Nice.
Shout out to her. Hopefully, she gets to hear her name called on Monday the 14th as well. But yeah, she's the leading assist in Columbia's history. Back-to-back Ivy League champion. First tournament win. They beat they were able to beat the team and get into the first 4 to play West Virginia in the first round. So a historic season for Columbia University, and I met them at Insomnia Cookies. They love Insomnia Cookies. Fun fact. They could eat it every day, but I recognized them coming to the store often, and I had a poster of one of the games I went to, and I would have players come in and sign it, and they just loved the support and the love that I would show them, and they then invited me to their home games. Like family and friends would give me tickets. Shout out to Kitty. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I started just networking there and looking for a way to be able to cover them next season. I grew up in the Upper West Side, Columbia. They play on 121st and Levine Gym. So just my neighborhood team. I just love watching them play. They're such a fun team to play. I'm looking forward to next year. I've already made that connection with the freshmen and the sophomores. And this relationship started off of the love of cookies. So
that's cool, yeah. And they might come in studio with us one day. We don't know. We'll see. So that would be cool. But but that was very cool. And the Columbia women definitely did their thing. And they won their first tournament game before they lost to who beat them? TCU? No,
West Virginia.
Right, West Virginia beat them. Yeah, and so one thing that I wanted to mention before we finish, and for those I mentioned when I first came on, but today I'm starting another show at WBAI at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to end today a little bit earlier so I can get ready for that. But so the UConn South Carolina championship matchup, so 2022 and 2025. And sandwiched in between that, we had we had LSU and Iowa 2023. That was an iconic matchup right there. And they know that
was the game.
The game. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, that was the game. The ratings were through the roof. And then the next year,
Go down to the WNBA season.
yeah. And so they even came back the following year, 2024. You know, they met in the Elite Eight, and then Caitlin and Iowa got to the championship last year, and they met South Carolina last year, who Caitlin and Iowa beat the previous year in the Final Four, stunning, before they lost to LSU in the championship. And Angel Reese. Then last year, 2024, it was the rematch of the Final Four matchup.
You won South Carolina.
Yeah, and South Carolina got vengeance on Iowa last year and beat Iowa for the championship. Caitlin Clark lost in the championship game each of the last 2 years. South Carolina won in 2022 and
2024.
Yep, and now they're trying to do it this year. And the only reason why,
the first time back-to-back since UConn did it in 15-16 with Brianna Stewart.
Yeah,
4 times.
Yeah, and folks, the only reason why South Carolina is not going for a 4-peat today is because Caitlin Clark knocked them off. And 2 years ago,
and COVID.
Yeah, when Carolina at that time were the reigning champions and had not lost a game all year, and Caitlin Clark and Iowa beat them, that was when her legend really was born that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We saw her ability to shoot and just space the floor.
Yeah.
She really came into her own, because even when you look back at her freshman year in Iowa, she wasn't as efficient shooting. Caitlin Clark always passed the ball well, but she wasn't able to shoot the way she was sophomore, junior, and senior year. She really worked on her game.
Right. So the championship game tonight is at 3 o'clock, right?
3 o'clock in a couple hours on ABC.
Yes. And, yeah. And so before I go, it's funny. Our last thought about the Carmelo thing is funny because you don't know how many people like that. I've lost friends over the years over Carmelo Anthony. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds insane.
You're lucky we locked in for life. Because with all that you said today, it might have been a problem.
Yeah. So like a lot of people over the years, you know what I'm saying? It just went left, you know what I'm saying? And yeah. So that's funny. And the same with Eli Manning too. I had the same thing. 'Cause, you know, they all love Eli too. But anyway, so